We got some of your albums that you shot here around the studio. If you see that.
Yeah, talk about your transition from doing the live stuff to all of a sudden like doing some of the most iconic album covers of all time, like starting with "Stay Hungry."
Yeah, well, you're a photographer. Magazines are cool to get in there. One of my first covers on Circus Magazine was Ozzy in a tutu, and that was fun because everyone talked about it. But they only
bring that up. We want to see that on the screen. Bring that up, Dustin. Search Circus Magazine, the Ozzy tutu.
Yeah. So there's the picture of Ozzy in the tutu. One of my first photo shoots with him. It was supposed to be for Most Athletic. It was a high school yearbook in Circus Magazine. And I got an assignment to shoot the cover, which is supposed to be a cool photo of Ozzy on the cover. This is 1981, so this is right when Blizzard came out, and then the editor wanted me to take a photo of Ozzy with something athletic.
Here it is above you.
Right.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
He's in the all pink. Yeah, that's
and
strong.
so I got a tutu and got some boxing gloves, and he put it on, and it was only supposed to be a black and white photo, but the editor loved it and put it on the cover. We got a lot of talk for it. So here's the Prince of Darkness wearing a pink tutu.
Incredible.
And they weren't the Osborne camp wasn't pleased with it at the time, because it's like it wasn't supposed to be that. It was supposed to be a small black and white photo. I mean, I shot it in color and gave it to there. I was one of my first, I just started to shoot for Circus, and that was my first cover. They just wanted all the film. I had no control over it.
Right.
And so it didn't put me in good standings at the time, but then once they got all this publicity and everyone started talking about it, and then the records were doing good and everything was happening, I was back in the camp, and then we did more crazy stuff, like Ozzy in the bunny outfit.
Yeah.
They embraced all my crazy ideas.
Yeah.
And it was just fun. So getting back to the album cover.
Right.
So I did that, and that was fun. But magazines are only on stands for like a month, and then they go away.
Mm-hmm.
Album covers are there forever.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And everyone had always, in the 70s, reading the album credits, and that was the thing. So I didn't know how it was going to happen. And again, it just fell in my lap when I got a call from the manager of Twisted Sister, and said the guys want you to do a photo shoot with the band for the cover. And what I found out later was they assumed that I did a bunch of album covers already.
That's good.
When I was just talking to Dee, he's like, "Mark, we thought you were like already did a lot of albums. We didn't know this was your first one. We never would have let you. We would never would have let you do it.
Right? It's too late now.
Yeah. So what happened was they knew I was in all the magazines, and the art director wanted a rock and roll photographer, and I guess they saw like the Ozzys TUTU, and I was Ozzy's photographer.
Yeah.
Being Ozzy's photographer for in the early 80s was pretty big,
That's, huge.
And so that was known. So all these suits at the record company just see rock photographer, Twisted Sister, crazy rock band, crazy rock photographer, let's get them. So then Mendoza came in and gave me the idea, or his idea, to do this Stay Hungry cover, but it was supposed to be 5 guys in makeup, 5 guys without makeup in the same room. And I had to build this set. So I've never done any of this before. My father was in home construction, and he helped me build the set.
Wow.
And I got all the props, and I just kind of like winged it, really,
Yeah.
And then at the last, that morning, I went to the deli, and I got this big bone. And I said, "How much is that bone?" And he goes, "You can have it." and then I just took it and put it in the middle. It was smelly and it was rotten.
Yeah.
And that was
this.
Right.
That was like a 22-hour shoot or something.
Right. So a long story short, we did a bunch of photos like we did with makeup, without makeup. This is before Photoshop. This is like all the stuff they had to do. And I had a light bulb in the middle with props, and it just didn't work with the 2 bands. And it didn't work because I wasn't getting any energy from Dee. he was just kind of standing there. And
That's hard to imagine. You don't get energy
Right.
from D.
Well,
Look
also
at this guy.
what I found out recently was that D was holding back because, you know, it was supposed to be a band photo, and D was always taking the spotlight. And for
Right.
this is the first album, he was just gonna kind of hold back and just try to let the band shine through and just blend
Yeah.
in. And that's what he did. He just blended in. So there wasn't that magic energy in a photograph that you really look for.
Right.
And I was just going through. I had so much going on. And so many variables, and a couple of the guys in the band were giving me the finger and putting their fingers in their nose and just messing around. And it's like me and D kept looking at each other like, just do the best you can. And I just met these guys really for the first time. And they were cooperative. Then we did photos without makeup. And so 20 hours later, we called it or 21 hours later, we called it a wrap. And I said, hey, let's anyone want to do any individuals in this, in the they did them real quick, but that was it. And then they kind of walked out. We had enough.
Yeah.
And I said, D, why don't you stick around a little longer? He goes, yeah, okay, no problem.
Yeah, it's only been 21 hours. Sure, man. I got more time to burn.
Everyone left. This is 3 a.m. at this point.
No shit.
Wow.
It was 3 a.m. and we were tired, but we were wired,
Had y'all used that bone in any of the shots yet?
He didn't hold it. It was just on the table.
Oh, was it? Okay.
So he's in the room, and I'm just going, come on, D, you can give me something. Give me something. And I saw the bone there, and I just took the bone and I threw it at him. He grabbed it, and then he just started hitting the walls, making animal noises, and the cops actually called. I was in New York City in an apartment building, and
And they show up, and that opens the door.
I said, D, you get the door.
Yeah.
No.
The cop
Keep
opens the
bone.
door. He's like, draw blood.
On
This
the
is our
leg.
last photographer's leg.
and like the last frame on that roll of 36 was that photo, and I turned it into the record company, and it was almost the demise of the band, because when that happened, like the band was like, I didn't know that they were pissed at me because I took it, but
Yeah.
it was a decision to use it, but I think they were mad that I didn't get a great shot of the band that had that vibe. And what Dee told me later on was that he was holding back because of what he talked to the band about.
Yeah.
And when they were gone, I said, D, don't hold back and let's go for it. And he did, and that's where we got it. And that's just
And
the
you knew
magic
the
of it.
label was going to pick that one? Or did you?
I didn't even know. I didn't, you just
You just turned it all in?
Just turned it in, and then when I saw it, I was like, yeah, that says Stay Hungry.
Yeah.
That might
Yeah.
be why the very next album, the band was like, you know what? We're just going to put a manhole on the cover. So, to avoid that.
So after that, we went with the formula. Then he asked me to art direct and design this the Come Out and Play, which unfortunately didn't do so well. Nothing to do with the photography.
Right.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Mark. Appreciate that.
Yeah, Mark. Good job, buddy.
I mean, because that cover was like, to me, was like my most challenging
Yeah.
and most rewarding, because they pulled out the stops, because it went they sold so many records on Stay Hungry. They just said, all right, D knows what he's doing, let's let him run with it. And unfortunately, they shouldn't have let him run with it. They should have,
Right.
really thought about the next thing, because I think Leader of the Pack was the single on that. And that
Leader
was
of the
probably,
Pack was
it
the
was probably a
first one,
mistake,
yeah.
that
Yeah.
they did that. It was, but,
Every band Monday morning quarterbacks their career.
Yeah.
Like where they could have made better.
but the
turn.
pop up and the texture of
Yeah,
that
that's
Come Out and
great.
Play.
I
I
love
still have the street in my garage. My father made that because he was in construction.
Yeah.
That's 2 tons sitting in my garage with the Twisted Sister logo. It's going to end up in the Long Island Music Hall of Fame. Yeah,
Wow.
the museums. And I also have, which I found later, I didn't know until I moved the street to another part of my garage, that on the back I had a bag in it, and it
Yeah.
was the fingernails and the mummy wrap. So I
can't-
have all that.
How did you have the wherewithal to keep all that shit back when you were doing it? I would just think that you would be like, this is going to last forever. Hell, I'm not keeping any of this stuff.
I left it in my parents' garage, and then when I had my own house, like 10 10 years later, I brought it into there and just forgot about it. And then, but yeah, I got all, because we wrapped them in mummy, like this mummy wrap, and it's all oily and the fingernails
Yeah.
and so all that's gonna, be somewhere. And
What was the next band that saw Stay Hungry and went, we need this guy?
Yeah, Wasp. He had The Last Command.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Which Blackie's the only one on the cover.
Yeah.
I see a pattern.
Yeah, if Mark comes, your lead singer's about to stand out a little bit.
Dude, we need you to do the next Linem album cover.
Right. Okay.
Jacob's always trying to be in the front.